Welcome back to the Essentials of Science. Today we're learning about length. Measuring things is a big part of science. As the philosopher Katy Perry once remarked,
"Is math related to science?"
Remember in the first video titled, "What is Science?" I said science is the only way to answer questions about the natural world? When it comes to measuring things, there's also a right way and a wrong way of doing it. The metric system is the correct way to measure things. Now don't get me wrong, America is the best country in the world, by a lot. But the imperial system is kind of weird, and I will be making fun of it a lot. For example, the inch is traditionally defined as the width of a man's thumb, and because every single man in the world has identical thumbs, this is a perfect measurement. Wait, what? Everybody is different? No two persons' thumbs are the same? Women have thumbs? What? But an inch has also been defined as the length of 3 barley corns. This is why you see carpenters and construction workers walking around with big heavy bags. Some people say these are tool bags, but don't listen to them. These bags are filled with barley corns, and they line them up one at a time to measure things. Remember kids, measure twice, cut once, and always keep your barley corns handy. Then there's a yard, which is the length of a man's arm, but it's also the length of a man's step. And yes, every single man in the world has arms that are the exact same length, and every single step that every single man takes is identical to the length of their arms as well. And don't even think about trying to measure a woman. The foot doesn't even have a unique definition, it's just a third of a yard. And a mile is the distance a man can walk in 1,000 steps. And remember, a yard is 1 step, and there are 1,760 yards in a mile. And 1,760 is the same as 1,000, so this makes perfect sense. But a mile is also the length of 8 furlongs, which is the distance a team of oxen could plow without resting. Oh, and a nautical mile is 796 feet longer than a land mile. These definitions and measurements are so unbelievably stupid that in the modern world, only 3 countries officially use them: Myanmar, Liberia, and the greatest country in the world. The UK uses imperial units for some things, but metric units for others. And these measurements are so bad that they're not even defined in the traditional sense any longer. So instead, the inch is defined as 2.56 centimeters, and a yard is defined as 0.9144 meters, for example. The universal, or SI unit of length is the meter, and yes, it's a little more than 3 feet 3 inches, just for reference. But what is a meter? Like the kilogram that we discussed earlier, the meter has gone through multiple definitions. Originally, it was defined as 1/10,000,000th the distance to the North Pole from the equator. This is why if you look at the circumference of Earth, it's just a little more than 40,000 kilometers. This isn't a perfect definition either because Earth is not a perfect shape. So the current definition of a meter, which is spelled METRE everywhere else, because of course America just won't even do that the same, is the distance light travels in 1/299,792,458th of a second. That's just the speed of light in meters per second inverted. So the length of a meter is a bit arbitrary, but unlike imperial units, which are in no way connected to each other, SI units are all connected to each other in some way. I will show you how in a bit, but let's divide and multiply the meter first. The best thing about SI units is how easy it is to convert them. SI units scale up or down in multiples of 10. A meter is made up of 100 centimeters. Centa equals 100, as in century equals 100 years. So 35 centimeters is 0.35 meters. 21 meters is 2,100 centimeters. Awesome! 1 centimeter is made up of 10 millimeters. So 8 millimeters is 0.8 centimeters, or 0.008 meters. 53 centimeters is 530 millimeters. See how easy that is? How many feet is 81 inches? See, you have no idea. Every 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer, which is not quite 2/3 of a mile, just for reference. So 755 meters is 0.755 kilometers. 12 kilometers is 12,000 meters. This is so easy. And no, making something easier is not a bad thing. By easier, I really just mean faster. So you can do calculations more rapidly, which means you can get more work done. and it makes you far less likely to make an error when calculating. So far we've been talking about length, which is one-dimensional. I hate the first dimension, so let's go to the second dimension. Let's take a length, 50 centimeters, and square it. Now we have 2,500 centimeters squared. Great, now let's convert this. There are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, so how many square millimeters do we have? Well, it's 500 times 500, because that's the length of each side, so 250,000 square millimeters. Once again, all we have to do is move the decimal point. Because we are dealing with units squared, and there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, we can multiply the original answer by 100, which is 10 squared. How many square meters is 2,500 centimeters squared? There are 100 centimeters in a meter, so divide the answer by 100 squared, which is 10,000, and we get 0.25 meters squared. What if we did this in inches, feet, and yards? Same setup, 50 inches by 50 inches, that's 2,500 inches squared. Cool. How many square feet is that? Well, it's 17.36111 square feet, of course. All you have to do is divide 50 inches by 12, which is how many inches are in a foot, and then square it, or you can take the original answer and divide by 144. Why 144, you ask? Well, that's 12 squared, which is the number of inches in a foot, and it's also 1.929012 square yards, which is the number of square feet divided by 9 because there are 3 feet in a yard and 3 squared is 9. You see, this is completely useless. Inches, feet, and yards are related to each other in totally arbitrary and inconsistent ways, and they are not related to other units at all. Here's what I mean by that. 1 centimeter cubed of water weighs 1 gram, which means 10 centimeters cubed of water weighs 1 kilogram. That's a volume of 1 liter. A cubic meter of water is 1,000 liters of water, which is 1,000 kilograms, which is 1 ton. We have mass and volume all directly connected to each other in this way. The equivalent measurements in imperial units would be inches for length, gallons and ounces for volume, and a completely different type of ounces for weight, or we could use pounds. While a centimeter cubed is the same as a milliliter, a cubic inch is 0.554113 fluid ounces. 1 fluid ounce of water weighs 0.578029472 ounces, and why they are both called ounces, I have no idea. A cubic foot has a volume of 957.506 fluid ounces, which makes no sense at all. Or we could measure the volume in gallons, but a cubic foot has a volume of 7.48052 gallons, so nope. But does a cubic foot of water weigh exactly 1 pound, like how 10 centimeters cubed of water weighs exactly 1 kilogram? Nope, it weighs 62.4718356 pounds. The interesting thing is it almost weighs 1,000 ounces. It's 998.8349369 ounces. So close. A cubic yard is 201.974026 gallons, which would weigh 1,684.46338 pounds, which is 0.8422369 tons. The US ton is 2,000 pounds, FYI. Hopefully this illustrates why it is a terrible idea to use imperial units when trying to measure anything, and now hopefully you understand why we will never use these measurements when trying to do real calculations in this class. My only confession is that I usually measure the temperature when talking about the weather in Fahrenheit because I'm just so used to it after 29 years. I want you to walk away from this with some useful knowledge you can use every day, so I will now provide that for you here. Earlier, we were talking about area. Remember, area involves taking a length and squaring it at some point. So a square that is 2 times longer on all sides than a smaller one is 4 times the area. 2 squared is 4. And this is extremely important when buying pizza. And I apologize, but I'm going to use square inches here because that's what the website says. A 12-inch medium, 1-topping pizza from Domino's costs $12.99, while a 14-inch large pizza costs $16.99. You may be thinking $4 more for 2 more inches of pizza, that's stupid. But no. You see, the medium pizza has an area of 113.1 square inches of pizza. That works out to about 8.7 square inches of pizza per dollar. That is your bang for your buck value. But the large pizza has an area of 154 square inches. That works out to over 9 square inches of pizza per dollar. Your bang for your buck value just went up. If you go extra large, then you are getting, 11.66 square inches of pizza per dollar. You should always go for the bigger pizza. I'm not saying you have to eat the whole thing all at once, but it would be financially irresponsible of you to buy the smaller pizza. In the next video, we will transition to the third dimension and discuss volume. Thanks for watching.